We are live. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, today is an early broadcast because Joe has to be somewhere, but still, because of his graciousness, we are able to be in the studio and do our little magic. Today, I've got somebody I've been wanting to talk about for quite some time because everyone, as you might be aware, the subject of computer sciences and artificial intelligence is something that has blown the world when it comes to hype, as you mentioned. And and who better than a person of such intellectual disposition to come and explain it to us? So today we have Charles Koutcheme.
Hello.
Right?
Hey, Remo.
And you are from Guinea?
Benin.
Benin.
I'm from Benin.
Okay. And this man here, I met you, I think, a year ago, right?
Yeah, exactly a year ago.
Yeah, and if I recall, you study in Helsinki University.
I'm studying in Alto right
Alto.
now.
Alto. Yeah. And you know what? I'm gonna give you the platform. Tell us, who is Charles?
So, who is Charles? Okay, first I like people to call me Charlie.
Charlie.
My real name is Charles Koutcheme, but everyone calls me Charlie, being my parents, my friends, literally everyone. And sometimes even when people call me Charles, I'm not reacting because I'm not associating this with my name. But whatever. So who I am? Well, I was born in Benin, like with my whole family. I was living there for a while, and then we decided to move to first to Belgium. Because of political reasons and many reasons associated with living in Africa, as many people know. Then I basically studied in Belgium, did part of my life there before moving here to Finland almost 3 years ago. And regarding my career path, let's say, I had many interests, really many interests, but I decided to go with computer science. So the science of studying machines and algorithms. Why? Because this is kind of a path with which you can do so many things and which allows you to understand so many of the things that's happening around us. So yeah, that's why I chose computer science. And computer science, and especially machine learning and artificial intelligence, because it's super cool. Like, let's be serious. Working on this thing is really super cool.
You're changing the world.
I love to think that way. Yeah. That might not be changing the world, but I'm contributing a lot, and that's something that I really enjoy.
I mean, it's it's a very young field in a way, right?
Yes and no. It's actually a pretty old field, but the hype has only become more and more recent. Actually, artificial intelligence back up to the early 90s, actually, like when computers were started to develop, actually.
Pre-Y2K era.
Exactly, yeah. But before, it was kind of a niche area because only kind of crazy mathematical people will try to study this kind of things. But now in the 2000s, with the amount of data and things that we have accessible, these things has just blown up, basically.
Explain to our audience what practical uses artificial intelligence has, even in day-to-day life now, and the far-reaching possibilities it can have in the coming future.
Okay, first, before I would like to before saying that, let's try to specify a bit like what's artificial intelligence. So basically, it's something. It's super broad, and I think that we often have like people can easily see like a bit everywhere using it. This is using AI. This is using AI. This is using AI, but most of the time, it's actually not the case. Like, we shouldn't confuse simple or even more complex algorithms with artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is really the science of studying how we can imitate human intelligence using algorithms and machines. And so most of the times people will just use some complex algorithms and tell you, this is artificial intelligence. So
do you have an example as to what people mistakenly denote it? They denote it to be work of artificial intelligence, but it actually is not, like something common.
I'm not sure I could easily find something common, but I have this thing that's super funny. So I have a rice cooker. like a simple, I mean, not a simple rice cooker, like a rice cooker that can do like multiple stuff, let's say.
Okay.
And it's
Like a
written,
pressure cooker, a rice cooker-ish
yeah,
type of thing.
exactly. And it's
Yeah.
written using AI technologies on it. And
What were they? That's their marketing employee, the
yeah,
company.
that's the
or-
marketing employed. And I was just laughing so much when I saw it on the cover. I was like, bro, come on. Like, you're telling me that's AI. And like basically
It can do it all.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But basically what it's doing is that it's kind of a they have just kind of a smart algorithm that tells like to like kind of decide when exactly the rice is going to be cooked or whatever you're doing is going to be cooked. But
Okay.
that's not AI because they're not imitating any kind of intelligence in it. It's basically a simple algorithm. So that
Wow.
might not be common, but that's something that like,
But isn't that fraudulent marketing in a way, right? Because you're lying to your customers,
I mean, it kind of
or are they
is-
just counting on their ignorance?
I think they're kind of counting on the ignorance. It's
Okay.
kind of is, but because people have such kind of in general, we have a bad understanding of what AI is in general. So it's not something that you can easily say, hey, you're kind of lying to us because of the understanding that people have about AI. It might not be the right definition, but that's
Yeah.
what the common understanding is. And so because it's the common understanding, then it's kind of okay to market it as is.
Oh,
Kind of.
okay.
And then to come back to your original question, I think like if we take this into account, like what AI can bring is really I like to think in terms of efficiency and easiness, let's say. So I really think that AI can help us in many fields where we need a lot of efficiency, we need like speed, and we need to make life easier. For instance, AI has been applied into healthcare a lot. Why? Because first, it's a field, or these are things which are very complex. I mean, to become a doctor, you need years of studying and years of practice, and but in many applications, in many cases, this expertise takes time. I mean, we have a limited set of doctors, we have a limited set of people available, and it takes time, to get that the doctor goes through your records, like ask you questions and this kind of stuff. And this is the kind of cases where AI can help us.
And especially, I think during COVID, we realized that, right?
Exactly.
Because the healthcare system was just jam-packed.
Exactly.
Yeah, with so many patients. And yeah. And it was overloaded.
But the thing is that these AI are not going to, even though I say they're kind of trying to imitate human intelligence, they're kind of not trying to replace humans. So basically, we are not, or at least to some extent, we are not trying to obtain perfect doctors. But what's happening most of the time is that we're trying to optimize some very, very specific task, which takes a lot of time for them, but which machines can do pretty well. And that's actually what this whole machine learning thing is about. It's kind of optimizing these algorithms and these things for very specific tasks that these machines can actually do well.
And it's been integrated into such systems as the healthcare system, for example, right? Currently?
Yes. I mean, I think there are quite a lot of startups and even systems that are employed in healthcare, being in hospitals or even like in smaller stations and these kind of things. But now the thing is that, of course, because it's healthcare, it's pretty heavily monitorized. And so like the usage is still kind of...
because people are concerned with their privacy, their data.
The privacy, the data, but also because, I mean, you're kind of playing with human health, which is something that you have to be very, very careful with. In other domains, for instance, this is something that you can kind of just experiment with. So, for instance, if you use AI technologies for, for marketing or for advertisement, for instance, it's used pretty heavily into advertisement. Then this is something that you can kind of just experiment with, because it's not something that's going to heavily impact people, at least not in a direct way compared to health.
Wait, marketing? Like
advertisement.
Advertisement.
Yeah.
I would have thought isn't that what people are mostly concerned about? Also, for example, because they, let's say someone leaves something online, like a comment on a video. Can an AI detect, okay, this person, he likes this kind of product, this so and so it will direct its intended product?
Yeah, and that's exactly kind of what AI has been the most used for right now. And I mean, there are many reasons for it, but basically if you consider like, okay, let's go into that kind of this web environment, right?
Yeah.
The thing is that for accessing content on the web, people do not want to pay. Like, that's
Sure.
we don't want to pay, but the companies and the enterprises which are behind, they need to make money, right?
Yeah.
So what's happening is that they are going to use your data as money. And so basically each time you're going to like this website or using this YouTube algorithm, like you're going to YouTube or this kind of like TikTok or whatever, they are collecting your data.
Of course.
They are collecting all your data, and they're using this data to train their algorithms to do exactly what
So a simple click is enough just to even stay on a video for...
I mean, the thing is that you need quite...
Or do you need to engage?
You need to engage with the platform, but now the thing is that maybe not for... They don't need a lot of engagement from you particularly, because they might have a lot of engagement from other people who would kind of behave like you, if you know what I mean. So basically, even though they wouldn't have much information about you particularly, what they will try to do is that they will try to infer how exactly you're working based on the few interactions that you've had, and match it with more or less people who have behaved the same ways. And so that's how they will kind of quickly try to target which kind of personality you have or which kind of behaviors you would have on the platform, even though they have limited data.
Like, to go back to the healthcare system, can you give any particular example? Like, for example, if the AI is integrated into the system, how it is used to process patients' data? Like, is it to, for example, detect any resurgence in if a person is suffering from a tumor remission? So when it will, does it in a way calculate when the tumor might come back, for example? Or
I think this is kind of more of a more complex scenario. So let me give you like a more concrete example.
Yeah, please,
so, like,
because I am very ignorant about this subject.
Let's say, I think it's for imagery, basically. So, for instance, when people have cancer, to identify cancer cells and these kind of things, usually, so you take a scan of the area of interest, and then you have so deep images, like really, really high pixel, high resolution images, and then you have doctors
do some photon like penetrating, like deep tissue resolution.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes. And then basically you have a doctor kind of zooming through the images, and then using their kind of knowledge to try to infer, okay, I think that in this area there might be the high possibility that you might develop a cancer or something like this, or some issues is going to happen.
Does the AI sort of like run a cycle of comparative analysis or compared to other images that they've collected?
Exactly.
And they see a pattern.
Exactly.
That, okay, this seems like it's going to be an area where tumor might develop.
Exactly. And so what's happening is that what they're trying to do is that instead of having like this imagery going straight to the doctor, they would first have this AI technology or this machine learning technique run to have some kind of pipeline where first you will give the doctor like a smaller set of images to analyze. The images that the AI are going to be like, okay, I think that there might be a particular problem, and now it's the turn to the doctor to be like, okay, it's right or it's wrong. So you always need this kind of human intervention at the end, but it makes the process a whole lot easier.
So the decision is relayed to the doctor eventually. Yeah. The AI does not make the decision.
Exactly. Especially in healthcare. Yeah. Like it's always, or at least it should.
You don't know where it's going.
You know what's happening, but it should. The last decision is always a human decision in the healthcare environment. Yeah, but these technologies are there to help, basically, really helping.
What do you have a particular sort of like picture? The thing that comes to me is because, well, unfortunately my sort of grasp on the computer sciences has to probably be influenced due to popular science novels, or the media, some films and stuff like that. So I don't want to construct my vision of the future based on such fictional takes. So, but do you see the world heading towards a sort of like Blade Runner-ish type of reality, or where do you see us going?
Oh wow, that's Oh yeah, I see what you mean. That's kind of a hard question. Personally, I don't have like I very rarely try to picture like kind of the future and how exactly it's going to be influenced with AI. I personally don't see like this kind of movie like type of technologies, this kind of insane things, at least not in and I would say like the span of life that
Mhm.
I mean probably you and I are going to live. I think that it's going to have like huge impacts, but in way smaller ways and way smaller proportions that we think.
Okay,
And
maybe
so
since you said maybe in our lifetime we might not see, like some holographic advertisement, like
exactly,
just laying about, in the street. So in the
exactly.
next 10 years, how can we sort of where do we see our world going? When it comes to AI.
In the next 10 years, I think that in this next 10 years, it's going to be a case of heavy adoption.
Hmm.
And by heavy adoption, I mean in the sense that AI is going to become a lot more democratized.
Hmm.
And we can see that right now with, I mean, at least on my side, we can see that with all these,
Hmm.
language models things that have popped up. So up until now, most of the kind of technologies which are really kind of advanced and
Hmm.
really kind of changing things profoundly
Hmm.
were developed and maintained by big companies. So
Hmm.
big companies or big enterprises which have both the data, the compute power to have the system. But now slowly, like we started to see some kind of democratization where even smaller businesses are way more capable of developing kind of maybe not life changing, but powerful technologies powered by machine learning, deep learning, and
Hmm.
artificial intelligence. And now I think that is going to reach the next step where
Hmm.
even people like you and me will be able to kind of develop their own technologies or their own methods for whatever purposes that they need,
Hmm.
basically. So I think it's kind of an evolution of going from this kind of more proprietary like techniques and stuff to more like the to more user-centered like technologies,
Yeah.
let's say, that you and I could like more have more control about, like more developed. And I think that's how it's going to evolve during this like next 10 years. And for instance, I could imagine like maybe in 10 years everyone will have their own personalized assistants, like their own chat
Oh,
gpt
yeah, yeah,
kind of
yeah, yeah,
thing.
yeah.
maybe
Like a
maybe I would
butler,
say
like a digital butler.
exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe in the next 10, 15 years, I could see that coming as some kind of like, like this hype thing.
Mm.
So I would see, I don't know, we have like this Google Assistant or this like
Yeah,
Siri
yeah.
or these things. I could imagine this being way more powerful, really way more powerful, like more of this kind of chat GPT like powered kind of things, but really suited to you, something that kind of knows you and then can like really assist you to really
Yeah.
deeper level. That's how I'm imagining it in the next 10 years,
I have this
personally.
itch, like this fascination of the film I, Robot, right?
Yes.
Uh, I think it was set in 2040, at least when it was like the film is set in the year of 2040. But do you see AI ever being integrated into robotic individuals, like in a way, like for example, they're currently using, I think, remote surgeon assist like technology, right? If I'm correct, where a person like a neurosurgeon might be in Stockholm performing a surgery in Silicon Valley or something like that, right?
Hmm.
Like, do you see AI sort of just being taught to do that by itself?
I think that it's actually already under development.
Shit.
It's actually, but the thing is that it's before real adoption, it's going to take a lot more than 10 years in
Mm,
my personal opinion.
mm,
So yes, there is actually a lot of research being developed into combination of AI and robotics.
mm.
Quite heavily, really a lot of research.
So the
Um,
funding, like a lot of funding, is directed to that,
um, to some
like a
extent,
fraction at least.
a good fraction of funding is directed to that. Maybe not the main proportion. It's maybe not one of the main areas, but still, a lot of some kind of funding is directed towards that. Um, but I think that before adoption, it's going to take quite a while, like really
Mm.
quite a while. And if I take your examples about surgery, I don't think that it's going to come in the next 10 years, to be honest,
What
because
about in just general sort of manual labor? Can it like
um,
in warehouses and factories and stuff like that?
oh yes, oh that's that's
Because
for sure.
right,
I don't
yeah.
know if you know about this Amazon warehouses.
What
Um,
about them?
Amazon has some of the warehouses which are almost, let's say, 90% automatized, basically. So you have
some warehouses, not all.
Not
Okay.
all right now.
In
But I
particular
think
in America, right?
In particular in America.
Yeah.
And okay, people really have to go and watch the videos. This is insane.
I am definitely gonna check it out.
This is really insane. So basically, you have so you know, like you have like basically a whole floor, and these are just robots moving. And let's say that if you imagine the typical warehouses with like, you know, like all these like layers and like the humans moving around, like the stuff to collect, basically you can imagine this, but with robots doing that instead. But the thing which is really impressive is that it's incredibly efficient.
Yeah.
So you have these things moving at super high speeds, and basically not, I mean, the synchronicity between everything is incredible.
Every step they take.
Every step is super controlled, and you can see, like, for instance, them moving like next to each other, like super
no
close,
collision, nothing.
They're not colliding, and every piece doing this together. This is super cool. This is really super cool. So it's being developed. It's already being used, and I think that it's kind of. I mean, right now I think it's more. The artificial intelligence in that it is less in the robots but more into the planning, meaning how exactly each robot is going to select which item, how when is the robot going to move, at which speed, and these kind of things.
It's not going to have an issue with recalling what directives it was given, right? Like, okay, pick this package and take it there. It's not going to have, since it's everything is integrated into the system.
Yes. And you can actually see that as like kind of each of these kind of individual like picker robots as more of a it's not of a system in itself, but just as one piece in this whole kind of technology, in this whole network. And this is really, really, really incredible to watch. So I really invite people to like look at this. And I think that it's slowly going to take over like these classical systems of warehouses, at least for this kind of big.
I was comparing that video, you know, I think, what's that program that MIT has, that the bipedal robot that's like doing backflips and stuff like that.
This is I think this is from Boston Dynamics.
Boston Dynamics,
yes,
sorry,
Boston Dynamics.
Like I saw a video, because I saw it like maybe 5-6 years ago when they doing some test runs, and the test runs that they were doing now.
It's crazy.
Bro.
They are dancing. They are dancing now. Like they're really dancing. Like really dancing, doing these backflips all together, like with humans.
I'm kind of scared because I do not want it to sort of, you know, I keep them in the warehouses. You know, I don't want them roaming around on the street. That's the thing, because especially if they start working. Although I would trust a robot better than a human when it comes to certain things. Because, for example, driverless cars, right? Because like. It calculates the impact that's coming ahead, and if there is an impact, it will avoid it. If I'm correct, from at least my vague understanding.
Yes, to some extent. Yes.
Yeah. So I would, in a way, like maybe again, you know, films have played a role in this dystopian sort of like nurturing of how the future will look. Having the robots roaming around, maybe being integrated into the policing security services and stuff like that. So I've always been wary, but do you see it even having a wide array of applications besides like labor?
I think that basically I think that you could kind of, if we are talking about like kind of more of a kind of robotics technology and how they could be used in society, I think that it's going to very, very slowly being adopted in more and more kind of more human places, because like you say, right now it's more related to, at least heavy robotics is more into warehouses and these kind of systems. And if you come back to this Boston Dynamics robots, they are heavily used in industry right now. A lot of industries are employing them, for instance, for places which might be dangerous for humans, for instance, for mining, or in kind of dangerous fields. These robots are used because basically you can control them by distance. They are quite powerful, and there it's quite useful because instead of kind of risking, even though there is like the risk is still minimum, but there is still a risk. Instead of risking a human life, you can just employ these robots to do these kind of human things. And so I can see that for this kind of things, people are quite happy, and we can kind of leave them aside.
They don't mind that.
They don't mind that. I think it will slowly get into like everyday life. For instance, I was in Tokyo
Oh
last
yeah,
year,
like yeah.
and I haven't been there personally, but I know that they have this kind of cafe where you have like this kind of robots being the waiters and the waitresses, and that's insane. But
It's on a set of wheels.
on a set of wheels, basically. Okay, the nice thing with that is that I think that they are partly controlled by people who, for instance, people who cannot walk or people who have
Okay,
issues,
yeah.
and so they are distance controlled. But I can easily
So
imagine
it's a job for them then,
it's a
basically.
job for them,
Okay, yeah,
basically. So
it's pretty cool.
that's pretty cool. And I think that's
You're
how
still doing something meaningful. Yeah.
exactly. So it's kind of half human intelligence and half also like robotics power. But I think that very slowly, like, so I think that's how first it's going to get into our everyday life. This kind of mix between robotics and humans very slowly. But then we can imagine that as this technology is developed, we could see like kind of pure robots really being used in like kind of that we could see um, like starting in restaurants and like in the streets and for this kind of small stuff.
Yeah, I think I also saw a McDonald's in America that is experimenting with using the even there's a machine that flips the burger patties
Yes.
and puts it together, and then like a robot on a set of wheels brings it to you to the table. So
I haven't seen that, but that's not surprising me at all. And I think that's how this is going to be used. Like slowly and slowly, we're going to see this kind of stuff popping up. But I think the key point, at least for industry, is that they are kind of trying to introduce that step by step, slowly. And you know, when you see that, you're like, "Oh, that's cool. That's okay." You know, like that's normal, and that's just to let people get the time to get acclimated and like used to this kind of.
yeah, I've
used
noticed
to
because
this
like
kind
in
of
the
things.
I mean. When did ChatGPT go public? Was it last year
It
or was it 2 years
was
ago?
it was end of last year,
Yeah,
actually, like
November or
really
something like that, right?
November. Yeah, November
And
last
it
year.
just even that droplet into the collective consciousness, it's like it's already causing this manic,
Huge
And
impact.
I'm a bit like so I'm a bit concerned, just as you said, like it's good that they're slowly
Mhm.
like sort of making it available to the public, because if you just put it out there, humans tend to fear what they do not know.
Exactly.
So yeah,
Exactly. That's a very good point. And I think that actually,
is tech phobia a thing?
um,
Is it a condition?
even in research and like even in research, there is some kind of tech phobia. I don't know if people heard about it. Sorry, but there was a big clash in the scientific community about the use and the development of systems like ChatGPT. And actually, there was a petition that was signed by a lot of scientists, even like big names from big
Yeah,
industries,
true.
from
Musk was on
big
it, I think, right? Yeah.
yeah, from big universities that signed some kind of petition to slow down and stop the development of systems like ChatGPT. So you can imagine that even people who have like huge knowledge about these kind of things and
Yeah.
who are working on these things, even them are kind of afraid of the impacts and what these kind of technologies can bring in. So imagine
So there's a
if
schism. There's a sort of like division in the scientific
there
community.
is a big division in the scientific
Wow.
community right now about this kind of technologies. Even among the big names are kind of agreeing between themselves. So I can imagine that people are if big people are afraid, people who have
Yeah.
like knowledge about the limits, better knowledge about the limits of the systems. I can understand that everyday people are also a bit afraid or like are not really like kind of skeptical about these things. But if I can say something, I think that I will not say that I have a side, but let's say that it's not possible to stop the development of these things. So even if this petition was
You heard
signed
it.
or whatever, like I can tell you, you will not stop the development of these things because whatever law or whatever thing that you're going to put, let's imagine even there was a law that say, okay,
Yeah.
let's stop the development of these things. They are not going to stop.
Absolutely. They're just gonna do it like in a cloistered manner. They're gonna keep it
Exactly.
low key under the
Exactly.
table.
And I think it's actually, at least that's my personal opinion, it's better to let them do it publicly
True.
so that we have a better view of what's happening exactly. If
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
yeah.
So
Then
that's
some like Edwards base in Nevada with a secret sort of like location.
yeah, a
like
secret
that, yeah.
server, like developing like
Yeah.
next generation technology.
Because it has it has huge military application, right? AI, obviously.
Yes, it has. It
Yeah,
has.
like so I'm thinking like if they don't do it at the forefront of the public's awareness and they keep it secret, you do not know how far they'll take it.
Mm, I mean, I think for the military case, it's a bit more. It's a kind of another problem. At least if
Obviously,
it,
that can yeah, true.
because like I think like at least right now the big hype is around this kind of language models, which are kind of more like text-based technologies.
Mm.
Um, so they don't. I don't think that they have like this kind of specific technology will have a big impact on the at least not in the military race. I think that these are kind of different subsets of applications of AI or technologies. So I don't think like this kind of like
It's exactly what I wanted to discuss with you because, like, I plead ignorance, and the information that I come across through my sort of lamppost research, it's too vague and it's too generalized. So, and it's just it's just dropping these snippets into my mind, and I sort of cannot differentiate between like different subsets, as you said. So
um,
this is why I wanted to talk to you about it.
I can understand because first people are saying like we discussed a bit before, people are saying AI for everything, and so when we are telling like we
Is that
have
a
this-
slogan like you put on a T-shirt?
exactly,
AI
like
for
that's a
everything.
bit like Levis,
Yeah.
like it's like AI or what. But the thing is that, like I said, like it's so big, and so you have like all these different fields.
Yeah.
And the thing right now, which is booming a lot, is this ChatGPT models.
Yeah.
And basically, in a nutshell, like these are really kind of more text-based or visual or even like text-based or image-based models, and so they don't have a direct impact on more um, on other technologies which are a bit more mechanical, let's say. So it's mainly it's computer based, but it's not kind of it shouldn't impact like mechanical things.
So the virtual aspect is another thing, something that is computer based, and then something that they might have rolling about.
So basically, yes. So
in the real world.
basically, even though we have like this kind of, let's say we have this ChatGPT model, let's say that people seem like, wow, it can be a lot of stuff. It doesn't mean that that right now we have robots which are capable of doing the same things. You know what I mean? So you wouldn't have kind of some kind of I don't know, some robots that also like, even though like ChatGPT can give you a lot of stuff, it doesn't mean that you have like a robot that's also capable of doing insane stuff at the same time or behaving or like thinking like this kind of models. These are different subsets of technologies, let's say. But I can understand like it's not easy if you're not kind of familiar with like all the subfields and all the intricacies to distinguish this kind of applications and how exactly it impacts which area of our lives. I think that right now these things will have more of an impact on web related aspects mainly, and things which are which could be related to that or to some close or like distant aspects. This kind of data which can be kind of textualized or put in either text or video format or music.
So this is the genesis of things, right? This is the beginning, and later perhaps new ventures will develop.
Exactly, yes.
Okay.
This is the beginning, but it's still in big, but still in a subset of technology. Okay. It's not yet applicable to kind of other many things, especially if it's like if it requires some kind of how can I say? Let me find a way to put it. If it cannot interact with the world in a physical way, then it will not have, at least right now, it doesn't have a huge impact. Let's say. Let's put it that way.
Do you see? Can AI have so nefarious applications? A perfect example is some salty person is perhaps feeding it an image of his ex-girlfriend in order to generate a particular sort of naughty video. So that kind of thing is keeping people concerned. Like, what sort of containment policies can the scientific community, or perhaps on a wider scale, the political authorities, what could they put in the forefront to sort of like reassure people that these kind of things we will watch out for them? Or is it a multi-purpose tool that you just sort of throw it into
Okay,
society?
I think right now, like if you take the particular examples that you've put, this is more related to computer vision, and it's a subfield of machine learning, and quite closely related to deep learning, where
Why
which
the
is more
heck do they call it AI P word? AI. Like this is what I mean, because I immediately associated it with being developed by an artificial intelligence.
But
You
yeah, that's the thing. But it's a lot trickier than this. It's really a lot trickier than this.
Crazy how the media can warp your view on
But
things.
yeah, exactly. But the thing is that the media just wants you to
But they're
react,
the gatekeepers,
right?
of information. So
Yeah.
you sort of have no choice but to, unless you take my path and bring someone on board to actually elucidate you,
But
wake you up.
I think the problem right now with with the media, the thing is that they are unregulated with the way they are putting information
True.
out. So basically, at least to the best of my knowledge, but I think that they are,
When you
to
read
some
something, you
extent,
just like laugh sometimes.
I'm laughing a lot when I'm looking at them, looking at these kind of titles,
Yeah.
because they're putting AI is capable of doing this, or even they're going to some extent as AI will replace these jobs because it's already capable of doing that and that. But I think media should be heavily regulated into how exactly they put information out, because it's scaring people.
Yeah,
Seriously,
yeah.
it's scaring people. But right now there are no laws or anything to like how you should put your articles or whatever, because they just want to. I mean, these laws don't exist, and these companies or like this media, they just want you to sell articles and this kind of thing, so they kind of don't care about the.
They do get ad revenue.
They give
Yeah.
the truth. They give you the truth, but into an exaggerated format that will inspire more fear or this kind of things, that putting your real information into objective information to what exactly it's capable of. And I think it's because
So they imbue elements of or hints of truth into a particular narrative in order to warp the public's perception on AI, basically.
I think that their objective is not necessarily to directly warp people's perspective on AI, but because they want to sell, because they're also companies, the best way to sell is to
fear does sell, actually.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is to create this kind of emotions into people. So it's not a direct goal, it's more something that comes indirectly, but which causes a lot of quite a lot of issues. And then to come back to like this to this like these bad uses of technology, the problem is that you cannot ask, at least for technologies which are used by industry, yes, you can. They are kind of actually putting some barriers and some. They are putting practices to make sure that these technologies are not used in a kind of bad way, at least when it's used by a company. For instance, ChatGPT, when you're asking something to ChatGPT, something that you don't know is that before obtaining the answer, there is a huge set of filters that make sure that the answer does not contain bad information or incorrect information or something which is not incorrect information. That's not true. Actually, no. But because it gives you incorrect information, but there are heavy filters to make sure that it's not, at least, it's not insulting, for instance, and these kind of things. So these are put in place. But now, if you think about malicious usage, well, people who are using this thing for malicious usage, whether or not there are laws or anything to put in place against that, they're not going to respect it, right?
Sure.
And so there are like this already, like kind of this. I don't know if people heard about this deep fakes technology.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Basically, and so you could kind of create a really realistic video of a person or a situation and put it online on these kind of things. And this is the kind of things that, sadly, anyone who has the technology to do that. And to be honest, you don't need to work in a company or anything. You just need a bit of knowledge and a bit of compute power, a good computer, and this kind of things. And this is the kind of thing that you can really easily, to some extent, at least more easily, put outside. But this is not the kind of thing that you can easily regulate. That's a problem.
Good that you mentioned the deepfake thing. You heard about what's going on in California, right?
What's happening?
The Hollywood strike, the writer strike.
No, I haven't heard of it.
So practically right now all film production has stopped because actors and writers, I think like in total like 140 to 160,000. Like you can check it for yourself, but are on strike. I think started yesterday actually
Wow. Okay.
because uh, first, I mean, there has been a Hollywood writer strike since May because they were concerned that big companies are going to be using like ChatGPT or whatever, like AIs to write film scripts,
Mhm.
you know? And now actors are also concerned that without their consent, they're going to use deep fakes to produce a particular movie with a specific actor's face, etc., etc. So it's good that you mentioned it.
Yeah, and I can really understand like people's people's view on that, and I had multiple conversations with people from the fields about this, and there is also like a huge debate on this right now, even in the field, because it's a question of um, well, what's um, what's kind of copyright, what belongs to you, right?
Mm.
Because basically these things are on the web, like like this, like rather being like this, like these stories, these movies, like the actor images, everything is on the web. So yes, it's I mean, it has been created by content creators, it's been acted by these people, but it's available online. You know what I mean? And when you use these things, which are available online, to kind of then to train or use them in a model, then what do you say about the model, which is, without entering the details, um, inspiring itself from these things to create new things? So do you stop it? How does that work exactly? I don't know what we had a huge conversation on that, and it boils even down to like the concepts of creativity. Like, what's exactly creativity? Can we say that these things are creative as well? Like, can we say that I mean, even if they're inspiring it themselves from like people's work, other people are also doing that. Basically, we are also doing the same thing. So can we kind of blame these kind of technologies for whatever they are doing on that? That's also creating a huge like debate in the scientific community right now about this kind of things. But I can understand why people will go on strike and do these kind of things.
I mean, when you think about it, though, like let's say a particular actor, successful one, because of old age or untimely death, does die, and they do end up producing a film using his features. At least maybe part of the monetary profits can go to his legacy estate, to his family or whatever. So I think there can be possibilities that you can. There can be possibilities for the person to benefit from the usage of his image.
I entirely agree. But now the problem is that, at least in the scenarios of images and this kind of things, this is more or less easy to kind of identify. Like if you're using like technology to imitate like the image of an actor and the way they behave or these kind of things, then I totally agree. Like you should like whatever profit, whatever comes out of it should go back to the original person. Now imagine you're in an extent where you cannot easily identify whose source it's coming from. Like for instance, what about art? Like let's take art. There is this kind of daily model which is capable of basically given like, I think it's daily, or I don't know which name it was, basically given like some textual prompt to create you incredible images. Now people have noticed that some of the creations that they have that this model are creating are heavily based on a few people's art or some particular traits of different people.
Okay,
But
yeah.
you cannot always easily identify that it's coming from this person. It's exactly coming from this particular instance, and so you cannot always kind of attribute to whom exactly whatever is created originally comes from. And this is a big problem that this kind of technologies have right now, is that they are not capable of telling you, hey, I've inspired myself from this. You know what I mean?
But there is technology, or it is perhaps being developed, like detectors, right? That they can detect a particular sort of style of art that's used by a particular painter and attribute it to that person, right?
I'm not sure about about imagery right now, but I guess probably it's under development somewhere by some lab. I know more about
Because they use it, for example, if someone uses AI to write their thesis or something like that. They have detectors, if I'm correct, right?
Yes, for
text at least.
Exactly, yes. For text, yes, they have this kind of things. But now, and that's something that that has created also a lot of backlash, is that these things are pretty heavily inaccurate. For instance, I don't know, I read today that there was this kind of photography competition, and then one of the pictures was, or one of the publishers or authors was ejected from the competition because they thought that the picture that they took was generated by an AI. But it was not.
The contestant got kicked out because the judges thought
That the picture was.
So it was a human error.
It was
on their part, the judges.
No. It was like they ran some kind of automatic detection tool that assigned that it was high probability that it was generated by an artificial.
High probability, or it was certain.
You don't have things as certainty. You only have probabilities. You cannot be like 100%.
And that means AI is getting good. It's getting really, really good, mimicking reality.
Yeah, but it was not actually. It was really not. So these kind of things, they are used, but at the state as we are right now, they are not accurate. Like really, really, really not accurate. And so that creates also the problem of, if you come back to the original thing where you cannot all the time, even using this, like say that, okay, this comes from that source. You know what I mean? So that's what's creating also like some kind of issues in this.
How do you see, for example, the availability of AI tools in individuals' hands? How do you see it perhaps impacting people who are living in the developing parts of the world?
I think I'm seeing it in two ways. The first way that I'm seeing it is that there are a lot of research into using these kind of technologies for instance, for education. And these are all for healthcare and these kind of things. And this is the particular type of use cases that I'm also particularly interested in and I really like. And I think this is the kind of things that you could easily bring into developing countries. Now, this is one aspect. Now, the other aspect, and this is something that I would like kind of to see a bit more, would be that people in these developing countries would be able to use these technologies or kind of develop these technologies themselves to bring their life into a better situation. You know what I mean? Because right now, for instance, at least in Europe and in America and also in Asia, in some parts, like this is creating a lot of businesses, a lot of opportunities for many people because they have access to this kind of technologies. But now I think that one issue is that it might even create some kind of bigger distance between the developing countries and Europe, America.
Because the first world countries will develop at a faster rate.
Exactly.
And they have to catch up.
Exactly. The problem right now, if we take Africa, for instance, the problem right now is that, I mean, Africa is amazing.
Yeah.
We do have a lot of things, but we don't, something that at least...
don't have the tools.
We don't have the infrastructures that we have here in Europe or in America or in Asia to develop these technologies.
Yeah.
We have very few companies which have hundreds or thousands of GPUs with huge mega data centers, or even people who are kind of well off don't have a super huge computer with GPUs or these kind of things to develop their own tools and even run their own technologies and these kind of things.
True.
And so if we're talking specifically about this kind of more like AI or machine learning technologies, they need compute power, they need data, at least if you want to have a certain level of good impact. And so I think sadly that it might create a bigger discrepancies between the different regions. That's something that I'm kind of a little bit sad about, because we don't have the infrastructure to kind of catch up. So it's not something which is it's not kind of fair, because
heck, you need like simple, fast broadband access to internet.
Exactly,
right?
Exactly. Yeah. But there are not that many countries and areas where you have this, right?
Yeah.
So it's not even that. I think right now the nice thing is that the steps to do it, how to do it, it's available. It's not secret. Basically, you need the infrastructure to do it. And you need, of course, you need a bit of creativity and ideas into how exactly you could use that to develop businesses and ideas and, getting money. But you need this infrastructure. And this is something that we're lacking right now. And so the main ways that I'm seeing like this kind of technology is being helpful is mainly in indirect ways, where the technologies developed would be used in context of to help other countries, but not in a way that people from these other countries could use the technologies themselves to bring themselves to a better place. At least that's my personal opinion. And that's how I'm seeing it right now.
Makes sense though, because, I mean, teach a man how to fish, he will live forever, like at least he'll eat for the rest of his life, I mean.
Exactly, yeah.
And without that, like, fanciful question. This is just off the top of my head. Maybe I'm not sure if you're ready for it. There are some people out there who believe that they can, like, artificial intelligence can become self-aware. What do you say to those people?
Wow,
it's a far-fetched one. It's a far-fetched one.
I'm going to say one main thing because I haven't personally made entirely my mind on this thing, but I really recommend people to read the book Super Intelligence from Nick Bostrom.
To write that down. By who?
Nick Bostrom. Super Intelligence. And it's really an amazing book because the author does an amazing job into basically very in an understandable way. So it's not technical at all. It's really not technical. It's mainly through stories and explanations, explaining how eventually or how these AI technologies kind of can reach this kind of super intelligence or like self-conscious or self-aware state, and what would be the ramifications and what would be the implications on basically on our society. In a nutshell, what the author is saying is that it will come eventually. It will come eventually, and that's something that we can.
And God made man in His image, and now
we can be kind of almost certain that it's going to come eventually. Now the question is when. It might be
100, 200 years,
200 years, 300 years.
That's at least a general take amongst many people, like at least many scientists who think that it might become self-aware. It's like 100 to 200 years.
Yes. So, but we know. That's something we can be sure what it's going to come at some point. But the thing which is, so to answer the question is that yes, it's going to come. But my personal opinion, like, and of course I'm not an expert compared to many people, but is that it's not going to come in the next 20, 30, 50 years. I'm not sure that we're going to reach that level. Maybe we'll reach something which is quite close to it or which looks like it, but it's not going to come. And why I'm saying this, people could say, oh, but we already have, like, for instance, ChatGPT, it's amazing, it can do so many things and think and whatever, is that because I know that this is, at least if you look at the technology behind it, it doesn't it doesn't display intelligence in the sense of how exactly we would imagine what human intelligence is purely, basically. It's kind of how can I put it? Basically, it's imitating the way human reason and speak without having at least some kind of proper intelligence behind it, basically.
And let's say supposedly it does become self-aware. If I'm correct, AI uses a particular like method. It's called, I think, deep learning, right?
Deep learning is a subset of artificial intelligence, and it's a subset of machine learning, and it basically regroups a set of techniques which mainly uses to some extent broad kind of deep neural networks and
like multi-layered
networks and a lot of data. So it's a combination of this layered networks and this the availability of a lot of data. But there is a lot of questions about of course, and the thing with deep learning is that basically and that's the way we explain it usually, is that you can see that as pieces of puzzles basically, and each puzzle is capable of doing one specific thing
Mm.
basically, and it's one thing. And all these models that are created are just puzzles which are put together in some ways to create some kind of network which is capable of doing some task, basically. So yeah, but now there is a huge debate about whether the way, at least for instance, if we take this ChatGPT, whether the way we have assembled this puzzle could really imitate intelligence. And many people and many big names say that no, it's just not capable of doing that. But that's still a
Just
debate.
a work in progress at the moment.
Yes, exactly. So how exactly the self-intelligence is going to come, in which form exactly, we don't know. We really don't know. We just know that
because we don't even know how we humans attain consciousness. So
exactly,
yeah, like at least there's no definitive answer right now.
Exactly.
Some even think that it's just a byproduct of like neuron activity or something like that. At least some neuroscientists claim. So yeah.
Yeah, and some people even say that it's something that cannot be purely measured, at least in some way. That's it goes beyond neural connectivity, and that's something that arises from some higher perspective or some higher, I don't know exactly, but so it's kind of hard.
It's still a long-running debate.
Exactly,
so far,
that's a
yeah,
long,
in cognitive
that's
sciences.
long-running debate. Yeah.
Wow, but your answer is, at least from what the vibe that I'm getting, is very hopeful. That you see a bright future where a lot of the world's problems can be alleviated by integrating machines with our day-to-day life.
I really think so. Yes, I'm trying to have this kind of optimistic view into how exactly we can use these things, and I think that the best way to go about this is first acknowledge the fact that whether we want it or not, it's there.
Yeah.
So
it's not going anywhere.
It's not going anywhere. Yeah. Whatever people would want to do or want to think.
Sign all the papers you want. Like, sign all those requests that collective action, whatever. Listen, it's not going anywhere.
It's not going anywhere. Yeah. So right now, I think the best thing to go with it is to learn as much as possible about it.
Educate
ourselves.
Man, I need to get on board on this thing, seriously.
Know what are the capabilities and what are the limits of these things, and then look at how exactly we can integrate them in our everyday life based on what exactly we know they can do or cannot do, and use that to our advantage. And this is kind of for people, and I really actually encourage people to try to dive a little bit try to get a little bit deeper knowledge about this, really deeper knowledge. I think there's amazing resources outside there to try to understand how these things work or what they're capable of without requiring some big technical knowledge. And I think that it's first going to reassure people, and it's even going to put people into a mindset of how can I use this for my everyday life in a better way. For instance, there are so many posts, for instance, on LinkedIn on how you can use, for instance, ChatGPT to optimize your life, your businesses, and these kind of things, for instance.
Oh, nice.
And I think that's how people should go about it. So educate themselves and use these things for their advantage, because it's going to be there. And the best thing we can do right now is to use it to our advantage properly. And on the other side, for people who are kind of, let's say, kind of more on the technical side, what kind of people we are trying to do is kind of go a bit more careful on it, in the sense that we're not going to stop it. We're just going to be monitoring the development, being careful about it, being careful about the limitations, the capabilities of these things. And
but so far we can say it has unlimited potential, right? It's just how we go with it.
It has right now it has a limited set of potentials, but the way we can go about it can bring us unlimited things. I think so. I really think so.
No, I'm really glad to hear that, because at least so far I've been, I've been just sort of tiptoeing around shallow waters when it comes to this field of this topic. And I'm going to take that advice even personally, at least, because I feel like I need to do a deeper dive. And I suppose it's a bit difficult with today's day and age, because everything is, what people prefer is just short compounded videos or of information that gives them a general idea. But unless you dissect and dive into the topic, you're not gonna like get the full sense of it. So yeah, I'm taking that advice personally. Like seriously, my guy, I really appreciated this talk. I feel like it was a bit. Again, I wanted to sort of see what it is about before I even delve even further. But I would really love to have you back again. So like, it's just up to you. And seriously, audience, thank you for tuning in. Many of you have asked this question about AI. Now you have at least an answer of some sort. So, but as he recommended, do a deeper dive for yourselves, research things, not with a sense of just like vague curiosity, but a yearning for knowledge, just because you want to find out more of how the world is developing. So please, thank you very much, Charlie. I would love to have you back again. If you have a particular like message to give the audience, because again, you are at the forefront. You're the pioneer in this field. Like it can be anything. Feel free.
I think like Joel, I really just want to. I think I've said it multiple times that I want to say it again to the audience is like really like let's try to have some kind of optimistic view about it. Like let's try to like you just said right now, like dive more into like trying to understand these things. And I really want people to be a bit more reassured, because I know that it's kind of stressing some people, kind of a lot of people actually. And I want people to be reassured that it's going to be all right, that it's not going to that
the sun will keep rising and setting. Yeah,
exactly. So let's keep a positive mindset about it. And whatever, if people have questions or anything or want more information, always feel free to reach out to me. So they can send me an email or contact me on whatever, LinkedIn, Facebook, or anything.
How can they reach you through? Do you have a handle?
Just like right now, just send me an email, like so charles@gmail.com. Just send me an email or anything, and then even for small businesses, if you're thinking about using this kind of technologies and you need some help into how to start, how to use them, what to think about, then just reach out to me, and it will be a pleasure to help.
charles@gmail.com. You heard it, guys. Thank you. It was a pleasure. Have a blessed Saturday. And once again, a shout out to JC Radio, without whom this would not be possible. The big man, Joe, he's the one who's helped me commandeer this BUCCANEER show. So thank you very much, everyone. Bless up. Until next time.
Only this